teaching this morning live from Teesdale, which is near Capitol Reef. So you're welcome for the beautiful backdrop. If you just want to sit there and look at that, that's fine with me. So as we gather this morning, just wanted to talk for just a brief moment about kindness. And I've been doing this pretty intense mindfulness teacher training. And we had this second weekend, just ended yesterday. And we've been having a lot of discussions around suffering, and that being part of the human condition, and the relationship between suffering and kindness. And in some ways, to know kindness is also to know suffering. And I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I would like to share some words this morning, a poem called Kindness. And it's by Naomi Shihab Nye. And so you're welcome to just come to a comfortable seat, or you can recline, or just come into a place where you can be open and receptive to these words this morning before we start our movement and our yoga. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you can know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you. How he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then there is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. And perhaps allowing this notion of kindness to be our launching place today for our practice, setting in motion loving kindness. And will you take just a moment here to arrive, to feel into your body, feel into your seat on the ground, on your yoga mat. To feel the presence of your breath. And opening up to whatever is here to be felt in this moment. Sensations in the body, thoughts or emotions that come and go. You make space this morning for all of it, for all that there is to be felt or noticed or experienced. I'd like for you to draw a full breath in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of that in-breath for just a moment. And then sigh out your mouth and let it go. Maybe loosen the jaw or the shoulders. Let's do that again. A full breath in through the nostrils. Holding full. And then again, a sigh out the mouth. Just let it go. And last one like that, full breath in. Holding full at the top. And another cleansing, releasing sigh, just let it go. Perfect. And then come into an easy, deliberate breath through the nostrils. You can work with Ujjayi breath if you're familiar. And we'll start to move a little bit here through the upper body. Just a little bit of movement side to side in a way that feels appropriate and reasonable for you this morning. And that goes for the entire practice, moving in a way that feels within reason, within your body's parameters and boundaries. And start to move more in a circle. So maybe you take the whole upper body in this big circle. And then pause and go the other direction. Nice. And then let's extend the right arm up alongside the ear. Stretch up as tall as you're able. And then come up and over into a nice deep side bend, side body stretch. And here in your side bend, you might explore a little bit of movement. Maybe you turn the chest down toward the floor or up a little bit toward the sky. Or you could even move your arm a little bit. And just be curious and follow your own intuition here for a couple more breaths in this side bend. Notice how the breath might guide the movement a little bit, or the alignment of the body. Come back upright and release the right arm down and send the left arm up. And we'll do the same thing on this side, coming up and over into your side bend, side body stretch. And again, being a little exploratory here, noticing just how the arm feels, the shoulder, what movement might feel good, or mobilizing here in this moment. Perfect, and then let's come back up, release. Bring the hands behind you now and uncross your legs, planting the feet on the floor. Let's take a few rounds of windshield wiper twists. So just dropping the knees over to one side and then the other. And again, you can pause for a few breaths in your twist or just continue the movement. That's your own discretion here, and just finding your own expression of this movement and of the practice in general. Good. Now we'll bring the feet to the floor, the knees up. I'll turn to this side so you can see this side view. Fingertips pointing forward. Now we're going to bend the elbows just a little bit. Try to pull your shoulder blades toward one another. Elbows squeeze in. Lift your chest up, like you're trying to turn your chest up toward the ceiling. That could be where you stay, or push with your feet and your hands and lift the pelvis up into a tabletop position. If that's too much for your wrists or your shoulders, then just stay seated. Couple breaths here. Push down to lift up. And make your way back down to your seat. And we'll come forward now to the hands and the knees. And as you come forward, starting to move a little bit here through cat-cow, opening up the chest on the in-breath, lifting through the tailbone, and then rounding through the spine on exhale. Inhale, lift the tail, open the heart, drop the belly. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, round your spine, chin to chest. Good. One more like that. Inhale. And exhale. Belly in, navel to spine, tuck your tail, round your spine. Now come back to center, back to neutral. Make your way into downward facing dog. So this first downward dog of practice, push through your palms, lift your hips up, strong through your core, maybe a little shifting or movement, pedaling through your feet. And just a reminder that child's pose, coming down to your knees and resting, is always available to you. It's always an option. And sometimes that's the most skillful thing to do in our practice, is to rest. And so just feeling into that moment to moment, breath to breath. Let's take maybe 3 or 4 more breaths here in down dog, lengthening through the spine, a little lift up through the tailbone and out through the crown of your head. One more giant breath here. Maybe noticing how that deep, full breath affects your body, affects your practice. Bend your knees and look forward toward your hands. You can step or hop forward toward the top of your yoga mat. And then as you inhale, lengthen to a flat back, so you're extending through your spine. And then exhale, fold back in. Good. One more time like that. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Let your head shake out a little bit. Give this another breath or 2. And then, feeling your feet on the ground, we're going to come all the way up to standing. So, and if it's available to you, reach your arms up, maybe lift your gaze up. Exhale, hands together in front of your heart, coming into mountain pose. Good. Take your arms back up on your inhale, stretch up and lengthen. Now as you exhale, bend your elbows like a cactus and open up your chest toward the ceiling. Maybe take an extra breath as you open. And then stretch your arms back up. Exhale, take it forward into a forward fold. You can bend your knees as much as you need to here. Flat back as you inhale, so lengthen out your spine. And then exhale, fold. All the way back up to standing on your next in-breath. So ground your feet, stretch up, maybe reach slightly back behind you this time. And then exhale, hands gather together at heart center. Good, we'll add on a little bit to that. So reach arms up as you inhale, follow your breath. Exhale, bend your elbows and open your chest. A little heart opener toward the sky. Inhale, reach back up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, so lengthen chest and belly away from the thighs. Plant your hands to the floor this time and make your way to plank pose, upper push-up position. We'll hold here for just a couple of breaths. Push the ground away. Strong abdominal, strong core. If this feels like it's too much, you can always drop down to your knees or your forearms. But also being willing to challenge yourself and to feel some of the heat of the practice as well. Take another breath. Now we're going to shift the whole body forward a little bit, set up for chaturanga. So upper to lower push-up, hug elbows in, come all the way down to your belly. Point your toes, roll the shoulders back, and inhale, lift up to a little cobra pose. It doesn't have to be huge. Keep the shoulders down and back, away from the ears. Open up through the heart. And then exhale, let's press it back to downward facing dog. Hips reach up, push palms into the floor, thighs back. Good. Give this another full breath. Bend your knees, look forward. Let's come back up to the top of the mat. Flat back as you inhale, so lengthen from tailbone out through the crown of your head. Exhale, fold back in. All the way back up to standing on in-breath, so anchor the feet, stretch up. Again, you might reach slightly back behind you. And exhale, hands gather back at the heart. Good, you guys. Arms back up as you inhale, stretch up. Now as you exhale, we're going to bend the knees and sit back into a chair pose. So a little engagement through your legs and through your core. Think about bringing the weight back a little bit into your heels. Maybe even lifting up and spreading through your toes here. Take another breath. And just as we did in mountain pose, we're going to bend the elbows, cactus the arms, and open up the chest. I know it's going to be a little bit different because your knees are bent here. Take 2 more breaths. Pull both thighs back. Sit a little bit deeper. Again, be willing to kind of sit with the challenge of the pose. And then release and clasp your hands behind you. Interlace the fingers if that's available. Pull the shoulders back and lift up through the heart and the rib cage. So it's like a telescope. 2 more breaths. You can do it. Strong legs. Sit deeper. Open up your chest and then dive forward. Forward fold. The fingers can stay interlaced for a moment. And pull forward away from your low back and overhead. A little shoulder stretch here. Take another breath. Good. Now release your clasp and bring your hands down. Flat back as you inhale. Lengthen your spine. Take hands down, root down, step or hop your way back. Plank pose. On your exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Maybe coming a little deeper into your back bend or heart opener. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Now on your next in-breath, lengthen your right leg back behind you and up to a 3-legged downward dog. Strong arms, strong core. Now as you exhale, pull your right knee in toward your chest, lift through your belly, round your spine. Maybe draw your knee toward your nose. And then inhale, stretch it back again, reach it up. Move slow and steady, kind of like you're moving through honey. Exhale, pull that knee in, strong core. Inhale, stretch the leg back. Deliberate, mindful movement. There's no rush to get anywhere. Pull that knee in one last time. And now you're going to step your foot all the way through into a lunge, a high lunge position. Root down through your front foot, extend the arms forward and up. So all 10 toes are facing forward here, squaring off the hips toward the front of your mat. Deepening into that lunge a little bit. Find your edge. It's okay to have a little bend in that back knee. Now, one more breath here. Deepen the lunge and reach tall. And then, just as we've been doing, we're going to goalpost or cactus the arms. Bend the back knee at a hover. Okay, so this is called turbo lunge for good reason. And then we're going to open up the chest toward the ceiling. You can always drop that knee all the way down to the floor for support. 2 more breaths, you can do it. Good. Now, stretch the arms back up. Bring right hand to right thigh and the left hand all the way to the ground, underneath the shoulder. The back knee can come down if you want. That's totally fine, or you can keep it lifted. Open the right arm up so you're coming into a twisting lunge. Centering that right knee over the ankle. Push your left hand into the ground and open your chest even more, as though you're trying to turn your heart up toward the ceiling, toward the sky. 2 more breaths in this twist, everybody. Maybe send a sigh out your mouth. Good. Now, right hand comes back to the floor. Step that right foot back, plank pose. Now listen carefully. We're going to shift the weight into the right hand, roll to that pinky toe side of the right foot, and send the left arm up for what's called side plank, Vashisthasana. The right knee can always come down, like this. Now, if you're still with me, I want you to try something. I want you to pick up your left leg, bend your left leg, and then touch your toes to the floor just behind your right leg. Okay, so the left knee is bent, pull your hips up. Now stretch your left arm forward alongside your ear, reach the fingertips toward the front of the room, and turn your heart open. This is called wild thing pose. It's kind of like a 3-legged back bend. 2 more breaths, you got it. Good, and all the way back. Whew, plank pose. You can go right to down dog or do a chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Good, you guys. Okay, come down to your knees. Hallelujah. So you're going to find kind of a center here, neutral spine. So it's not cat nor cow. Just a neutral, strong spine, engaged abdominals. And what I'd like for you to do is extend your right arm forward and your left leg back behind you. This is a spinal balance sequence. And breathe here. Try to keep your spine and your right arm and left leg really straight and sturdy. Okay, so it's not like drawing a smiley face with the body, but a straight line parallel with the floor. Take another full breath here. Now on your next exhale, pull your right elbow toward your left knee, like a little crunch. And then inhale, stretch it back out. Right arm, left leg. Exhale again, let's pull it in. Right elbow, left knee. Inhale, reach back out. Good, 1 more of these. Exhale, pull it in. Inhale, back out. Pause here, bend your left leg. Bring your right hand back along your side and maybe grab your left foot with your right hand. Kick into the right hand, pull the shoulder back and open up your chest. So this is a half bow. Notice the quality, the presence of your breath. Take 2 more here. Good. Now release that foot, re-extend. Come back to all fours. Take your knees just a little bit wider, and you're going to sit all the way back to child's pose. Whew. Just let the body rest here for a few breaths. Forehead on the ground. A little release of the low back, perhaps. Good. Take one more breath here. And come back up to your hands and your knees. We'll make our way back to downward facing dog. So hips up, strong to your core. Let your head relax. And then as you're ready, we'll extend the left leg back, slow and steady. So less momentum and just more core strength moving from your center. Take another full breath here. Reach and lengthen through those left toes. As you exhale, pull your left knee in toward your chest. So draw your knee toward your nose. And then inhale, stretch the leg back, and then reach it up. Good. Exhale, pull it in. Again, slow and steady. Moving in a very deliberate, mindful way. Last one of these, stretch the leg up. Exhale, hug the knee in. And step the foot all the way through. Setting up for that high lunge position. So again, that back knee is lifted. Come all the way up. And you can keep that back knee lifted, or you can always bring it down to the floor. But let's try to square off the hips toward the front of the room. Deepen into that lunge just a little bit. Stretch up tall. So try to find space along your spine and your torso. Good. And then moving into that turbo lunge, we're going to bend the elbows. And then bend the back knee at a hover. And as you do that, we're going to turn the chest more open. Balancing your effort here with your ease. Okay, so 2 more breaths. Maybe opening up the chest a little bit more here. Good. And then stretch it back up. Lengthen. Bring the left hand to the left thigh. And bring the right hand all the way down to the ground underneath the shoulder. Again, that back knee can come down if you want. And then extend your left arm up for your twist, twisting lunge. And try to really feel down into the floor through your feet and your right hand as you start to twist and open up toward your left side. Good. 2 more cleansing breaths here. Maybe send that last sigh out the mouth and wring it out. Perfect. Left hand comes all the way down. Now you'll step the left foot back to plank, upper push-up. Shift your weight over to your left hand. Roll to that pinky toe side of your left foot. Send your right arm up for Vashisthasana side plank. Now again, your left knee can come down, or if you'd like to, let's move into wild thing pose. Pick up your right leg, bend your knee, touch your toes to the ground, just behind your left leg. Reach the right arm forward alongside your ear. Maybe turn your chest more up toward the sky. 2 more breaths here. Reach, reach, reach. Arch your back. And let's come all the way back to plank. You can go right to down dog, or again, take a chaturanga. Moving through cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Come Come down to your knees. And again, let's feel for that neutral spine. Strong and steady, connected to your core, to your abdominals. The left arm will lengthen forward and the right leg will extend back. So we're starting here with this spinal balance. Reach and lengthen, try to find that steadiness, that sturdiness. The left arm and the right leg parallel with the floor as best you can. One more breath, reach it in opposite directions. And then as you exhale, let's bring the left elbow toward the right knee. So you're coming into a little crunch. Inhale, stretch it back out. Try to keep your torso, your spine, your trunk really strong. And then exhale, pull it in, elbow to knee. Inhale, reach it back out. Good. Last time here, bend your elbow, bring it to the knee. And extend back out. Pause here. Bend your right leg. Bring your left arm back, maybe grabbing a hold of your right foot. If you can reach the foot, you're going to kick into the left hand, opening up the chest, creating this half bow position. So it's right leg, left hand. 2 more breaths here. Kick back, lift up, open through the chest, through the heart. Beautiful. Release out of that, re-extend. Come back to all fours. And you know what's next, child's pose. So sit on back. Forehead down toward the earth. And just notice here, whatever there is to be felt in the body. Maybe a sense of relief that the body can rest for a moment, or some softening, some ease, maybe a stretch through the hips or the low back. Just notice. Good, and there's no rush, but when you do feel ready, we're going to come back up to downward facing dog. So hands and knees, and then press it on back. Knees off the mat. Take a moment here just to arrive and take a couple of deep breaths in your down dog. Good. And keep your breath really steady. I'm going to send the right leg back again. Reach it up. Bend your right leg this time and open your hip. So lift your right knee, kind of point it out to the right. Kind of keep your shoulder girdle level and steady. One more breath. Right heel towards your left glute. Now step the right foot through, and you're going to set up for what's called Warrior 2. So a lot of you know this pose. Ground your back heel and extend out through the arms. So it's a little bit of a hip opener here, right? Because instead of having our hips square in our like a lunge or Warrior 1, now your pelvis is open, and make sure that that right knee continues to point forward instead of getting dragged over to your left. Deepen into your lunge enough so you can feel into your hips. Good. Now, drop your arms down. Clasp your hands behind your back. Pull your shoulders back, lift your chest. And you can keep it here, staying upright, or dive forward into what's called ostrich pose. You're going to drop your head down, right shoulder down toward the inside of the right knee. Fingers can stay interlaced, or you can bring your hands down to the ground. This is one of my favorite hip and shoulder openers. Keep your feet rooted down, stay in that lunge, pull the thighs back, let one more breath move through the body, and then come all the way back up to Warrior 2 pose. Take your right arm and stretch it up alongside your ear. Bend your right elbow. Bring your right hand to your upper back, so the fingertips kind of between your shoulder blades. Bring your left arm up and grab a hold of your right elbow with your left hand. Stay in your warrior two stance. So stay in that lunge and then start to pull back, opening the shoulder and the right side body. This is a variation of reverse warrior. You might keep it here or take this left arm down, take it behind the back, and see if you can clasp your hands behind your back into what's called archer arms. Okay, none of this is required, just options. Stay where you kind of feel you're at your edge. 2 more breaths. If you're able, deepen into that lunge a tiny bit, lean back a tiny bit. Last breath. Let's unwind out of that, back up to warrior two, and now you'll straighten up that front leg. Whew. And maybe heel toe the back foot forward a couple of inches, setting up for triangle pose. So lengthen forward through the right arm, rib cage and torso. Bring the right hand down to the shin, or if you have a yoga block, that's a nice option. Take the left arm and stretch it up. So think about spreading through your arms here as wide and as broad as you can. This huge wingspan here. Take 2 more breaths. And as we've been talking about all through class, maybe turn the heart, the chest a little bit more open. Last breath. Good. Now let's take the left arm and just bring it behind the back. Look down at the floor. Bend into that front leg and come into a balance. This is called half moon or Ardha Chandrasana. I'm going to talk you through a couple of progressions. Keep your left arm behind your back for a moment. Gaze down at the floor. Put a tiny micro bend in your standing leg. And then see if you can unweight your right hand and bring it to the heart. It's a little balance challenge. So left arm is behind the back, right hand is at your heart. Keep your breath strong. Now take your right hand back to the floor. Steady yourself, stretch your left arm up toward the ceiling, toward the sky. Good. Maybe this is your pose. Or one last progression, bend your left leg. Reach the left hand back and grab a hold of your foot. So you're in a half bow, half moon. No pressure. Good. Notice your breath, you guys. Take one more. Root down, kick into the hand and open. Release. Bring that left hand down. Step it all the way back to a lunge. Now, I know we've done a lot on that right leg, so listen carefully. We're going to stretch the right leg back. Reach it up. Bend your leg and open. And draw 3 big circles with this right knee. Kind of moving through the right hip joint. Just move it around in a therapeutic way. And then we're going to bring that right leg all the way through into pigeon pose. So that right knee moves forward toward the right thumb or the right wrist. We want to really square off the hips toward the front of the room and not kind of like sink over to the side. So if you need to sit up on a block or something, that's great. Or you can recline onto your back and take figure 4 stretch. Otherwise, let's go ahead and walk the hands forward and fold. Bring your head down toward the floor, toward the mat. And just take a moment here to pause. Not a lot of big, gross movement, but maybe still some intensity in this stretch, this pigeon pose, opening up the right hip joint. Good. 3 more breaths here. Nice, everybody. Let's slow and steady come back up. Hands to the floor. And tuck your back toes under. Push with your hands, and let's just come back to that three-legged down dog. Bend the leg one more time and open the hip. Now, you can just keep it here, or just come back to regular down dog, or you could revisit wild thing pose, which means we're going to unweight the right hand, flip the dog over, straighten out that left leg a little bit, and reach. So if you can't quite remember that, you can look at the screen, coming into this a wild thing pose, opening up the chest. Take another breath. Good, and then let's bring it all the way back and come down to your knees. Stretch your left arm, so the one that was just weight bearing, stretch your left arm out and up, and then thread the needle. So that left arm goes underneath your right, dropping down to the shoulder and the side of the head. Just a little stretch here. Good. Take another full breath. And let's unwind out of that. So take that left arm back out, reach it up, and then bring the hand back to the floor. Whew, awesome, you guys. Okay, let's go back to downward facing dog when you're ready. And extend the left leg back, reach it up. As the left leg reaches back, push with your hands, bend your left leg and open up the hip. So again, that left knee will kind of point out to the left heel toward the right glute, but try to keep your shoulders and your hands really steady. Take one more breath. And step left foot through, coming into warrior two position. So kind of coming back to that same sequence we did on the right side, extend out through your arms. And give yourself time to arrive here. A little bit of a hip opener. So you can open up, you can kind of go into your lunge and deeply enough to feel into your hips. See if you can notice that edge for yourself. Keeping the left knee and the left toes pointing forward. Good, you guys. Now, arms come down. Clasp the hands behind you and open up the shoulders, lift the chest. And then dive forward into your ostrich, or sometimes we call this humble warrior. Bowing forward, keep your feet rooted down. Left shoulder drops to the inside of that left knee. The fingers can stay interlaced, or you can bring your hands down toward the floor. Couple more breaths here. Keep your feet rooted. Pull your thighs back. Let your head go. Last breath here. Now, come back up to warrior two. So your left leg stays bent. Your left palm turns up. Stretch your left arm straight up alongside your ear. Bend your elbow. Bring your hand to your upper back. Bring the right hand over to your left elbow. Stay in your lunge. And pull on your left elbow and lean back a little bit. So feeling into the left shoulder and tricep and arm. Maybe keep it there or drop this right arm down and try to clasp your hands behind your back. Maybe they don't even touch or clasp at all. That's okay. You can still take that right arm behind the back and breathe. Couple more breaths. Commit to that lunge and lean back. Last full breath here. You guys got it. Now, let's unwind out of that. Stretch the arms back out. Warrior two. Straighten up your front leg. You might heel toe that back foot forward a couple of inches, setting up for triangle. Okay, so reach forward, lengthen, bring that left hand down, and the right arm stretching up. Spread through the arms, broaden that wingspan here as you open. Maintain length through your spine and your torso. Good. Now that right arm, the top arm, is going to go behind the back. Open, maybe even opening up your chest a little bit more here. Look down at the floor. Bend into that front leg, and let's take our half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. Now again, a couple of progressions here. Strong and lifted through your back leg. Right arm is still behind your back. Put a little micro bend in your standing leg, your left leg. Take your left hand to your heart. And this is just a little balance challenge here. Good. Now take the left hand back to the floor. Get stable here. If you have a yoga block, it's a nice option. Stretch your right arm up for regular half moon pose. Maybe that's your place where you stay, or bend your right leg, and you're going to reach back and feel for the foot. Half bow variation of half moon. There was actually a really cool half moon in the sky last night that I noticed. Take another full breath. And let's release out of that, re-extend, bring it all the way back down. Step your right foot back. So again, I know your left leg is probably feeling a lot right now. So push with your hands, take your left leg back, three-legged down dog. Bend your left leg and open. And draw 3 big circles with your left knee. So you're rotating, moving through the left hip joint. Good. And then bring your left leg into pigeon pose. And stretching that right leg back behind you. Square off the hips, so face forward. Again, you can always recline and take figure 4 on your back. Otherwise, go ahead and bring this forward and fold. Feel your breath here. Taking a moment to pause, to let go of the big movement and tune into the more subtle movement in the body, the breath, the sensation in and around your left hip. Staying mindful of your left knee. If this is painful at all, then I would encourage you to take a figure 4 pose instead on your back. And let's take 3 more deep, deep breaths. Good, everybody. Take your time. I'm going to come back up to your upright position and extend the left leg that was in pigeon back behind you and up to a 3-legged down dog. Bend your left leg and open your hip. And maybe revisit Wild Thing, which means that you'll unweight your left hand, flip your dog over, straighten out the right leg, so you're kind of on the outer edge of that right foot. Reach your left arm up and back, and maybe look back at your left fingertips. Little kind of side plank meets back bend. 2 more breaths here, you got it. And all the way back to your down dog, and then all the way down to your knees. Your knees can be a little bit wider here. Take the right arm out and up, so the one that was just weight bearing in our Wild Thing pose. Thread the needle, the right arm underneath your left. Good, taking one more breath here. And then let's unwind out of that, send the right arm back out and reach it up. And hand back to the floor. Awesome, you guys. All right, come onto your backs. And we're going to set up for just 1 or 2 more back bends of choice. So we'll start with bridge pose and maybe turn that into a full back bend, a full wheel, but that's not required of you. It's just an option. So bring the soles of the feet to the ground with the knees pointing up. Reach your arms down along your sides. Just make sure you can barely touch the backs of your heels with your fingertips, because what that will do is more or less place your heels, the heels of your feet underneath your knees, so your shin bones are straight up and down. That's what we're going for here. Bend the elbows, and so now your fingertips are pointing up toward the ceiling. Before you lift your hips in bridge, lift your chest up first. Puff up through your heart, like you're trying to squeeze your shoulder blades toward one another on the back. Now keep your heart up, and now lift your pelvis without dropping the heart down, if that makes sense. You don't want to sink it down and come into spinal flexion. You want to keep that in extension, opening up the chest. Now, we're going to hang out here for a few breaths in bridge. You're welcome to drop your arms and even interlace the fingers underneath you, as we've been doing, opening up the shoulders, lifting through the heart. Now, maybe you keep it here, or maybe you release your clasp and bring your hands to the floor next to your ears. Your hips are still up in bridge pose, the heart is still open, elbows pointing up toward the ceiling. And then pushing into the floor with your hands, you're going to pop up onto the top of the head and look back behind you. Try to pull the shoulder blades together and then straighten out the arms into a full back bend, into a full wheel pose. Now, this may not be suitable for your spine or your wrists or your shoulders, but just experiment a little bit. Stay for a couple more breaths, whatever back bend you're in. And then, when you're ready, lowering it all back down. And if you feel like you want to do one more, that's totally fine. You can rest for a few breaths and do one more back bend. If you feel like the love is gone and you want to move on, then pick up your feet, pull your knees in toward your chest, and we'll start to counter pose and come into some back release poses here for a few breaths. Happy baby is always a nice one, grabbing a hold of your feet, the soles of your feet, the outer edges. Good. Try to draw your tailbone down, your sacrum down. Get another breath here. Good, and then let's release out of that, pull the knees in and let both knees drop to the right. So you're coming into a spinal twist. There are lots of different options for spinal twist, so if you would prefer a different version, you can work with that. And let your body soften around this twist, not forcing anything or being aggressive. Just allow it to be. Allow your breath to come and to go. Good, and then we're going to bring the knees back up and shift on over to your other side. So knees drop to the left. And again, the invitation here is to soften and to let your body kind of succumb to the pose, to the twist. Nothing forced or aggressive. Feel your breath coming and going. Good, and then let's bring the knees back in. Stretch the legs out long to the floor, reach the arms up and back. Just stretch the body from fingertips to toes, lengthen. And then arms will drop down along your sides, and you can set the body up for Shavasana, for corpse pose. And spend these last few minutes in stillness and surrender. And as we move into this final relaxation together, I'd just like to revisit this poem called Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go. So you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then there is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. Taking just a few more breaths here in this resting place. And certainly, you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like or as you need. And when you feel ready to move, you can start to expand and to broaden your breath. And start to move a little bit through the fingers and the toes, and perhaps transitioning over to your side into a fetal position for a moment. And then coming all the way back up to your seat. Coming back to this same place where we started our practice, and yet the body might feel different, you might feel different, and just welcoming in this new moment in time. And on your next in-breath, extending both arms up, lengthening up, touching the palms together, just gathering the hands together at the heart with a reverence and honoring of your practice this morning. And we'll finish together with one round of Om. And you're welcome to join in, or you can just listen. Take a full breath in. Namaste.